Thank you so much for your patience. I am Dara Bortman. I'm one of the co-chairs of our Tikkun Olam committee here at Colamet. Can everyone hear? Awesome, great. I am going to do a very quick introduction because the presentation that we have here today from Shari Stuber is so great. I don't want to take away from that time. I just want to let everyone know why we here at Colamet are presenting this. It's not because we want to own or run a transition town, Greater Yardley. It's because for the last 4 years, our committee has been trying to introduce our community and our members and our neighbors here locally to really great organizations and programs that are already up and running, doing really great work for our neighbors and our community. And when we found out about Transition Town, the Transition Town Network, it just really spoke to us, especially in this time when we're coming out of COVID and we need to reconnect with each other, and we want to make our communities more closer, more resilient, more sustainable. And this program really, to us, was the epitome of that. And what Transition Town Media is doing, they're one of the best local examples of the Transition Town Network, is some really great work. And it just really, to us, as we come out of COVID and want to see people, it meant to us a great way to develop programs and create connections here that could really build bridges and be meaningful for everybody. So that's all I'm going to say. Thank you everyone so much for coming. With that, I'm going to just introduce Shari Stuber from Transition Town Media, and let her take the ball. Do you want to share the PowerPoint? Or?
Well, yeah. I think so, but which one do I hit?
No, I'll get it set up for you.
Oh, okay, thanks. Oh dear, I am going to need to use this whole thing because I can't see over this. Okay, good. Awesome. Just hit that? Either one?
Yeah.
Or the left one? Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I'm not used to this kind of laptop. So thank you, Dara. Thank you so much for this introduction and for this opportunity to come here today to talk to you about my favorite topic, transition towns. And thanks to Nancy and Susan for helping put this thing together too. So I really appreciate it. I'm here with Skip Shuda, the newest Transition Town Media president, who's going to be here backing me up today. So my host told me. I'm sorry? Awesome. Yeah, sure. Is this thing working? Should I be using this? Or it's not working? I mean, I don't need to if I. So my host told me that there would be some politicians in the audience today. And so they recommended that I start with a little soundbite so that they can get their head around what I'm going to be talking about a little bit. So here goes. So Transition Town is a group of passionate, creative citizens who will work with anyone and everyone to help their community transition from a exploitive, extractive societal structure to a healthy, regenerative, environmentally and socially just ecosystem that cares for and includes everyone and everything. So there you are. That's my talk for today. This is not working. Here we go. So this is another way of putting it from the famous Margaret Mead quote. But anyway, I hope you'll stay around for some more of the details. So I'm going to make you work for a minute here. I know you're all kind of starting to get into a comfortable listening mode, but you have to think for just a minute. I wanted to ask you, what do you think is the most critical problem facing our world today? The one most critical problem. And if you all can just shout out something here, that would be great. If those people on Zoom could maybe put something in the chat, and we'll, my colleague Skip here will hold those out. So anyone want to volunteer? Inequality. Inequality, awesome. The environment? Climate change. Climate change. Hate, very good. Food waste, awesome, thank you, that's great. Yeah. That's right, yeah, okay. All right, well, that sounds like a good list. This is what we've come up with too.
So we have, long-term
World peace and economic insecurity. All right,
refugees because of war and harsh government systems,
got it.
lack of focus on greater good.
Yes, very good. Lack of focus on the greater good in any and every way, and something about refugees because of war.
Harsh government systems and environment, war versus short-term war versus peace and economic insecurity.
Okay, this is a little truncated. I'm not sure why the it's not coming out quite right, but anyway, we'll live with that. So this is quite a list. It's some pretty big problems. So I'm just wondering, we're all good people. How did we let it get like this? So the problem is that we're living in a dysfunctional story. We've been thinking that the earth was put here for us to use and that the supplies are endlessly available. But in fact, we're using up the earth's resources faster than she can replenish them. The economy that we've set up creates a perception of scarcity, which puts us in competition with each other. I have to grab as much as I can, or someone else will, and I'll be left short. This causes greed, fear, and distrust of each other. But what if we were to formulate a new story? What if we could reimagine the world that as we would like it to be, to repair and rebuild what we have broken, tikkun olam, and to help regenerate life on this planet, so that we can create something that's more like this. And again, sorry, it's coming up short on the right there. It's healing, sense of belonging, a vibrant food system, I think it is. Right.
No, just leave it.
Okay. There we go. That's better. A little bit better. Good. Thanks. So something that values the totality of life, that restores humans' relationship with all of nature, and that realizes that we can't live a healthy life on an unhealthy planet. So transition is rooted in permaculture, which has three basic principles: earth care, recognizing that the earth is the source of all life, that it is our only home, and that we are part of Earth's web of life, not separate from it. People care, supporting and helping each other to develop healthy communities that live harmoniously, not doing harm to ourselves or to other life or to the earth itself. Fair share, ensuring that the earth's limited resources are utilized in ways that are equitable and wise for both the present and future well-being of the entire biosphere. Permaculture takes a systemic view, looking for the root of problems, not just dealing with the symptoms. So perhaps all the problems that we listed before are just symptoms of a bigger problem. And perhaps in order to turn things around, we need a new mindset, a new view of the world and our place in it. As Einstein said, we can't fix our current problems with the same thinking that created them. Transition sees life as a full circle. Every being has gifts and wants to offer them to contribute to the flow of life. Every being is integral and indispensable to the ecosystem that we're all part of. The original people on this planet saw the world as a living being. Somewhere along the line, we let science convince us that it was dead in sentient matter, not with feelings, purpose, or souls like the rest of us. If we can learn to see all things as our brothers and sisters, with life as sacred as our own, we'll begin to treat everything with respect and love. Charles Eisenstein, in his book, Climate, A New Story, recounts a South American elder's admonition about the planet. If you knew she could feel, you would stop. Stop poisoning her, stop despoiling her, stop ripping out her life systems, her forests, her soils, water, air, animals, birds, and insects. And even if you can't wrap your head around this concept that the earth can feel, try pretending it's true and see how it changes the way that you relate to the world. Community seems to be the best level on which to affect change, big enough to make a significant impact and small enough to be agile and make changes that are more aligned with the community's needs. We believe that only by involving all of us, residents, businesses, governmental bodies, community organizations, churches and schools, all colors, genders, beliefs, economic statuses, will we come up with the most effective and practical ideas and have the energy and skills to carry them out. Our future has the potential to be more rewarding, abundant, and enjoyable than it is today. By working together, we can unleash the collective genius and enthusiasm of our community to co-create a resilient, thriving, localized, low-carbon future together. And things are beginning to shift. There's more widespread recognition of how bad things have gotten. The expanding gaps between the haves and have-nots, the compounding environmental degradation, biodiversity loss, toxin accumulation, and climate crises, the huge wealth inequities caused by capitalism or corporatism, as some call it, the growing traumatization in our society, and the readiness for healing and reconnection with nature and with our communities. Concepts like sustainability, resilience, localization, and regeneration are finding their way into mainstream parlance. So now I've given you some context for the transition movement, and I'd like to fill in some of the details, the history and the structure, what we do and how we do it. So the idea for transition towns came from a permaculture class that Rob Hopkins taught in Kinsale, Ireland in 2005. Concerned about an impending oil supply shortage and how it would grind society to a halt because everything depended on oil, his class created an energy descent action plan for the town of Kinsale, a step-by-step plan to reduce the town's use of fossil fuels to practically zero. Rob wondered if that achievement couldn't be recreated in any town, but by the town's own citizens as a community effort, not by a group of students. He decided to try it out in his hometown of Totnes, England, and in 2006, he wrote the Transition Handbook, a manual for starting a transition town. The idea quickly captured the imagination of other towns and spread organically to towns in the UK and in Europe. And then a group in the US that had already been focused on reducing fossil fuel usage heard about the new movement and brought it to the States. It spread quickly here as well. And in 2009, a group of 6 folks got together to read the Transition Handbook and decided to start the first transition town in Pennsylvania, Transition Town Media. Like Yardley, Media is a small, forward-looking borough that tries to be as green as possible. It has strong religious community with many eco-justice initiatives. It established itself as America's first fair trade town. It has an active Environmental Advisory Council, the EAC, and its motto is everybody's hometown. And if you can see the tracks there, it has a trolley that runs right down Main Street. It is also this county seat of Delaware County, so it has a great relationship with the county government as well. Transition Town Media was a good fit, and we started to get to know all the potential allies in town, meeting with the EAC, the Fair Trade Committee, Friends of the Parks, Master Gardeners, Quaker meetings, and other religious groups, the NAACP chapter, and several other organizations doing good work in the town. People were intrigued by the idea, and when we held our first event in September of 2009, which was a talk enticingly called, "What is a Transition Town?" 70 people showed up, and we were on our way. And our second event the next month was called Permaculture in Your Backyard, and it was equally popular. At the end of the evening, Marianne, the speaker and one of the founders of TTM, that's Transition Time Media, sorry, I'm gonna use the acronym a lot, asked the audience if anyone wanted to join a food group and to work on similar topics. And a dozen people or more signed up. 6 months later, they had started a farmer's market in media. With this huge win under our belts, we established more working groups, energy, economy, intertransition, and continue to have monthly events with talks on a wide range of topics. In 2010, one of our members wanted to start a time bank, and we loved the idea. We decided to charge for membership in the time bank, and to make it more to make it a tax-deductible expense, we became a 501c3. This gave us more money and more structure with officers and bylaws, but we were determined to keep things simple and volunteer-based. Our economy group started to run an annual flea market outdoors in September, where people could bring stuff that they wanted to get rid of and other people could take it for free. It was a huge success, and we dreamed of the day that we could have a year-round indoor space that we could run free store. In 2014, such a space fell into our lap, and it was a small room in the Methodist Church right on State Street, the main street in town. It was available for rent, and so we did some fundraising to make sure we could cover the rent, and we opened on June 1st, another great success. So those were some of our early successes. The stickies on this whiteboard show the breadth of projects that we currently have going. They're organized in columns by category or working group. So the basic structure of most transition towns is to have various working groups that are topic-based interest groups, and each decides what projects they want to take on. One of our working groups, affectionately known as Mothership, handles the more administrative and organizational functions. It also does some strategizing and oversight. That's the first column on the board there, you see, on the left. Other columns are things like energy and the environment, including projects such as zero waste, solarizing media businesses, protecting biodiversity. Then under health and well-being and local food, we have Media Eats Local, foraging, and holistic healing. The local economy includes Free Store, our Circle of Aunts and Uncles, and our Green Sunday Holiday Craft Fair, and so on. Tying it all together is our steering group, which is where the working groups come together on a monthly basis and share what they're working on and get feedback, support, and encouragement from the whole group. Anyone can suggest a project. It has to meet our criteria for success, which is to move our principles forward. It has to be doable, and it has to have sufficient support, both financially and with people power. Generally, we look for at least 3 to 5 people to make a project viable, but some have been able to do well with less. Of course, not all projects work out. The time bank, for example, seemed like such a great idea at inception, and it was initially very popular. But over time, people lost interest in it, and it became so inactive that we decided to close it. But we don't hold these as failures. They're just experiments and when one doesn't work, we learn what we can from it and move on. Our successes, though, have encouraged us to take on bigger and bigger projects. Our collaborations have also expanded our reach. We worked with Judy Wicks in Philadelphia, the founder of the Philadelphia Circle of Aunts and Uncles, to create our own Delaware County-based version. The Circle provides low-interest loans and business help to underrepresented entrepreneurs. There's some brochures on the table outside too that explain that a little better. The Solarize Greater Media Project allowed 43 homes in the media area to get solar panels more cheaply. And we also worked with PICO to upgrade its ability to bring more locally generated solar into its grid. Our Media Eats Local project produced a local food resource guide identifying local farms, local farmers markets, CSAs, as well as restaurants and retail stores that source food locally. One of our biggest collaborations is with the Media EAC. We worked with them on a project to bring borough-wide weekly pickups of kitchen and food and yard waste to be composted at a nearby farm, helping to reduce media's trash stream significantly. We also work with the borough to put on street painting projects recommended in a traffic calming study, but they've been fun and creative community building events as well. And our Zero Waste project with the EAC has now expanded to the county level as part of the comprehensive sustainability plan that the county is working on. Now, our little group in media isn't alone in working on these projects we take on, or even the organizational issues that come up. Our work is enabled by being part of a very supportive network. We like to think of the transition movement as a large underground mycelial fabric that communicates with and strengthens each part of the network. We have a regional hub, for example, of transition towns in the Mid-Atlantic area, which has monthly support calls where we share what's going on in our towns. The Transition US, the national hub, also provides great support in the form of trainings for starting and running transition towns, excuse me, workshops on a wide variety of topics, and a platform for sharing successes and lessons learned. The Stories to Action section on their website has hundreds of stories submitted by transitioners around the country, each one giving a how-to tutorial of projects that they've worked on. Oh, okay. I was wondering what that was saying. Sorry. Yeah, it looks like you did. Okay. Thanks. And then, of course, there's the International Transition Network, transitionnetwork.org. So, of course, things don't always go smoothly whenever you're dealing with people. Differences of opinion that are held deeply and passionately can lead to hurt feelings and angry words. We've had our share of dealing with conflict and difficult interpersonal interactions. Transition, though, values human well-being and healthy human interactions as much as it values our healthy interaction with the planet. Our bylaws include a conflict mediation process that treats both parties with respect, doesn't assign blame, and seeks a resolution that leaves both parties whole and satisfied. So I've covered a lot of stuff here. I'd like to just try to summarize a little bit what I did try to say here. So I began with what drives transition and what's unique about it. It's a systemic view of what ails our world, of what led to the messes that we made, and the realization that we can't solve today's problems with the same mindset that created them. That instead, we need to restore our sense of our place as part of the world, as part of the web of life, not superior, but interconnected to all of it, as responsible members of the whole community. Then I gave a brief history tour of the transition movement and of TTM in particular, which hopefully gave you a sense of what's involved with becoming a transition town, what's worked for us, and some of the decisions we've made and the issues we've had to deal with. Every transition town is different, of course, because every town is different. So there's no precise script to follow, but the Transition Network offers lots of help along as you find your way. It's not always fun and games. Sometimes it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the enormity of the issues we face, to feel discouraged by how long it takes to make progress, to feel defeated when things don't go to plan, and to worry about whether you're doing the right things fast enough, on a big enough scale, whether it's making enough of an impact. Transition, though, always holds itself lightly. As Rob Hopkins said in the original Transition Handbook, this is all an experiment. We have no idea if it'll work, but by working in community with people who care about the planet and about each other on projects that stretch us and give us purpose, and they can bring us some measure of joy along the way, seems like a great way to make as much of a difference as we possibly can. And I want to close with this quote from Braiding Sweetgrass by Robin Wall Kimmerer. It reminds me that however dire the situation might be, the earth, especially in this season of rebirth and renewal, always gives us occasion to hope. Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. Thank you. These are some contacts and links. Our website, transitiontownmedia.org, the national website, transitionus.org, and the international one, transitionnetwork.org. And then my personal email is shari@stuber.com. Skip's is shuta@gmail.com. And if you can't remember either one of those, you can always reach us at info@transitiontownmedia.org. So I'm open for questions, but you wanted to run. Just don't fall off here.
Yeah, I'll run. There's this great video. How do I get to the next page? Oh, I got out of the, how do I get to the last page of her presentation? And I'm going to be selfish and ask you the first question. So, there's a great video that talks about the free store that media has created, and that was really inspiring to us. And so I wanted to just show that. It's a short, like 1.5 minute video. And if you click on that, and then I don't know why it's black. Oh, there you go. Yeah, go back to there. And then go to the last slide. Oh, it disappeared. Okay, I'd have to search for it then. Maybe I won't share it. Unless Skip.
You can find it.
Yeah, I can find it. First, what I'll do is I will ask you, because I want to just start the Q&A. The programs that you guys have done that really spoke to us were the free store and the composting program. And was there one more?
I think you go to YouTube, you'll get it right away. The free store video.
Yeah, the free, okay, I'll find that while Shari answers. I didn't realize that you had a free store market first before you actually opened the free store.
Yeah.
So that seems like maybe a little easier, thing to start with. So I'd love to hear more about how that worked.
Sure, yeah.
And I'll try to find the video for the free
Okay.
store while you answer that question.
Okay. Do I need to stand over here?
Yeah, I think you need to speak into the computer here.
Oh, okay. So media has this weird thing. It's called Great Media Yard Sale. So there's a weekend in September where everybody in media gets to put their stuff out on the street or in their yards, right, not on the street. And so people just wander around all the streets of media and, they can sell their stuff. So at the end of the day, of course, at the end of the weekend, everybody just puts their stuff on the curb and the trash picks it all up. So we decided that was not a really great way to do things. And we decided, well, let's just make this free market where people can bring all their leftovers from their garage sales and other people can come and get it. So we did. We had the Providence Meeting House on 252 had a big front yard. So we put tarps out. Everybody brought their stuff and laid it out, and people came in and just took a whole bunch of stuff. There was still some trash at the end, but it was way less than it normally would have been. So we were really, really happy with that. And over the years, that just got busier and busier, and we really kind of outgrew the space. We were starting to back up traffic on 252, and the police were getting a little annoyed with us, and so it was really getting to be kind of bad. But so we kept thinking, well, wouldn't it be nice to have this store, and that we could do it year round, and we have to worry about the weather and getting all the publicity out and all that sort of stuff. So then we finally did, and it was really a godsend.
That's amazing. I love that idea.
Yeah, so it's very easy to put together. You just have to do some promotions, the free market part of it. Just do some promotions, have people bring stuff out, and
I love it. Committee.
Easy.
And
easy.
we're really hoping that, as I said at the beginning, we're not planning on owning this. We're really trying to just bring this idea to our greater Yardley area and hoping that local faith leaders, local nonprofits, local small business owners kind of feel a kinship with this idea and decide to maybe join the EAC or tell a Lower Makefield supervisor or a Yardley Borough council person that this is something that resonates with them, so that a group starts, kind of on its own here. And that's what we wanted to share.
So do you have an EAC here?
Yeah, there's a
okay.
Lower Makefield EAC, and then Yardley Borough is kind of like separate, and they have a little environmental committee too. But we're thinking like as a greater Yardley kind of, transition town, they're kind of used interchangeably. So I think that, we definitely have resources here.
The nice thing about working with an EAC is that you have a connection to the council as well. So that, any ideas that you have that you maybe are a little too big for you to handle, you can bring to the borough or council or Makefield, the township council, and pitch it. And usually that goes through an EAC kind of arrangement. So that's the way it works in media anyway. And so.
Barry mentioned that Langhorne Borough also has.
Langhorne as well. Great.
There's a lot of local EACs
That's
around
good.
here.
Yeah. All right. So you want to run this?
I wanted to share this video, but audience members need to tell us if they can hear it, because I know sometimes that's an issue.
Yeah.
So make sure.
And some of her friends at Transition Town Media came up.
Okay, can our audience hear that? How can I tell if our audience
We can hear
it? You can hear it, John? Awesome. Okay, great.
Yes.
Thanks, Norma. Okay, great. Let me maximize this. And I'll start that.
Mom and some of her friends at Transition Town Media came up with the idea for a free store. Everything is free. People bring stuff they no longer need and can also take things like books, DVDs, dishes,
It needs to be louder.
office supplies, objects to decorate their house, and toys. But that's not the only reason neighbors come to.
See if we can make it louder.
Okay, that's it. You guys are gonna have to put your earmuffs on or something.
Yeah.
Right there, right?
Okay.
I think this is the
Oh, is
YouTube.
it? Okay, sorry.
Came up up with the idea for a free store. Everything is free. People bring stuff they no longer need and can also take things, like books, DVDs, dishes, tools, office supplies, objects to decorate their house, and toys. But that's not the only reason neighbors come to the Media Free Store. Kids come to play, people come in just to talk with each other, or find inspiration for a new project. And lots of people volunteer because they believe in the free store. It helps keep things out of landfills and reminds us to spend less money on stuff we can easily share. Lots of people use social media to post pictures and tell stories about the stuff people bring and find at the free store. It gives us a way to reuse and recycle what we already have, or to upcycle, which means making something totally new, like turning a chandelier into a chicken feeder. I think best of all, children learn about sharing at the free store. They love seeing how toys that they no longer use can make other kids happy. I know about transition towns and why we have a free store. It makes me proud to live here in Media, Pennsylvania. I think every community should have a free store.
That was the son of one of our members, and he's now in college.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
and he's a drama major. So that was his intro. Any other questions? Yes, Susan.
Interested in what, you indicated you made an effort to identify potential allies for this movement. And I know you're very humble and don't want to take credit yourself, but if you could give us an idea of how, even among the first 7 who attended that first meeting, who ended up being, not by name, but by role, who ended up being kind of magnets for this effort? Where did your buy-in first come from? And then, form that nucleus around which you then found the spokes for the wheel.
Got it. So where did we, so it was, I guess, basically you're asking about the connections that we made in the borough, people that we reached out to as allies, and who else in the group, in the original group, were kind of the magnets for getting people together. So first of all, out of the original 7, I was kind of a latecomer. There were originally 6, and I came in right as they were beginning to get organized. 4 of them, I think, moved away. So we were left with a group of 3, which was really fine. And so the 3 of us, one of whom has since moved away, and the other 2 of the other 2 of us have stayed on. So I think that the way we worked it out at the beginning was one of the things that transition is very clear about is not competing with things that are already happening and not reinventing the wheel. If something's already going on, connect with them, collaborate with them, promote them, support them, whatever you want to do. And that way you can get a lot more done without having to, duplicate efforts. So myself and one of the other founders took it upon ourselves to go out and just meet people in the town. We met with the Business Authority, the Arts Council, the EAC, of course, and just everybody else that we could think of to meet with. And it was really good because we were able to let them know right off the bat, hey, we're not here to take any thunder from you. We're here to actually reinforce what you're doing and support what you're doing. So let us know if there's anything you want us to promote, if there's events that you're putting on, if you want us to help you with any of the events or anything else that you need us for, let's do that. And we were able to right off the bat get very good feedback from the EAC about things that they were working on, and we were able to collaborate on a lot of their events, and that we we got better known, we got better traction in the community, and so it really, we were able to kind of really get off the ground running very quickly because of that. It's a great, strategy. Yeah, Dara.
Can you talk a little bit more about how the composting program started?
Yeah, that was another great program that we are very excited about. So at one of the EAC meetings which I attend monthly, a great group of people actually. So at one of the EAC meetings, they were talking about trying to reduce trash and say, so we were talking about, well, maybe we have 2 trash pickups a week in media. So maybe we should go to 1 trash pickup a week. At least, that would help. But then it really wouldn't, reduce the trash. It would just reduce the number of times you pick it up. They also talked about a pay per throw kind of program where the people actually, your trash gets weighed and you actually get charged for how much trash you generate. That's been done in a lot of places as well. But it occurred to us that really what we should be doing is helping people reduce their trash in any way possible. And one of the most obvious things is to get the food scraps out of it. And we read reports that, you could actually reduce your trash as much as 30% by doing that. So we got together a little committee with some EAC members and some transition time media members. And we started researching it. We had one of our members had a friend from Portland, Oregon, who had done this big composting thing themselves. And so she came with all this information and manuals and pamphlets and things that we could use. And so it really kind of took off from there. And the borough was really behind it. There was a lot of stuff to do with getting their public works crew on board with it and figuring out how it was going to work for them to eventually do the weekly pickups. We started out with actually a composting company called Kitchen Harvest that was already picking up, they had a business to pick up food waste from various homes and some of the colleges and other commercial outfits around the town. And so they were originally doing our pilot project with 100 people. They did the pickups and took them to Linvilla Orchards, which is where it was composted. And so they did that, started doing that on a weekly basis. We expanded it to 220 just to make sure it was going to really be viable. So he kept doing that as well. But then when we finally went borough-wide, the Public Works Department started picking up and taking it to Linvilla Orchards, where Kitchen Harvest was still doing the processing. So it really worked great in terms of everybody. We got a local company, business supported, but then the borough was able to reduce its trash stream by quite a bit, and everybody loved it. They raved about the program too, so it was nice. Susan.
I just want everybody to say hi to Heather. I want to say your last name.
Hi, Heather.
Hey, everyone, I'm Heather.
Great. There you go.
She's also humble.
Yeah. So what was your name again, Heather?
Sure, my name is Heather, and I'm the owner of
Kona Compost. Great.
Heather just won the most recent Lower Mansfield Sustainability Award.
Great. So Heather just won a sustainability award. That's really awesome. Yeah. So it's great that you already have a composter in your neighborhood. Yeah. Yeah, come on up.
These are the connections we want to be making.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. So I also co-founded the Bucks County Seed Share with Gene Kuhn. We operate out of the Morrisville Library, and the Seed Share is free for everyone. We offer vegetables, herbs, annual flowers, and have a really large native plant collection. You don't have to be a library member. You can go in, but of course, the library is also a wonderful resource. And in spirit of sharing, we don't require people to give seeds back, but we do encourage it. We're looking to, the next year and years after to really see the longevity in this project. So saving seeds is also an important component of it, and that'll be done later on in the fall. So we're really encouraging folks to grow their own vegetables, share that with their neighbors, save the seeds, give back to the library, and just keep the cycle going. So if you haven't had a chance to visit it yet, I'd highly encourage it. There's probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 or so varieties of seeds. And yeah, if you're a tomato lover, we also have 39 varieties of those. So anyhow, yeah, it's it's a wonderful project. We were able to get donations from what we call local seed stewards, so folks that we identified to save seeds for us, and also donations through companies that we had just reached out to. So this is our first year, and it's been very well received at the library. Our opening day had 100 folks plus come by to take seeds on a cold, rainy night. So anyhow, so that's one of the other projects that we have going on in town. So yeah, happy to
That's awesome.
answer questions if people have them after the fact.
Yeah.
So thanks.
I think someone has a question for you. Oh,
And made mistakes of gardening and had, too much of something or something else didn't work out or whatever. And I'm just wondering if there are resources for, making your local garden in addition to getting, doing the seed share. But it's just something that, I know my kids love to do and we want to be able to grow it. And I'm not quite sure how to.
so you're talking about the harvest share. Is that what you're mean?
Not hot functions, like gardening.
Oh, how to garden. Okay, gotcha.
It's actually through Penn State.
Yeah, Penn State Extension. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not.
Which kind? Oh, you have permaculture design, of course, too. Good, great. Yeah, I like that you also added the native plants aspect. One of our newest working groups or projects is protecting biodiversity by planting native plants. And there's a brochure out on the table there too about this homegrown map initiative that Doug Talmy, who's a professor at the University of Delaware, yeah.
I'll just say, and John Lewis, who is on.
Oh, okay.
So Lower Wakefield Township, for those of you who are not aware, back 2007, 2006, passed a native plant ordinance requiring that any new development, developers use native plants. And it has, the reasons you're saying now, sustainability is very important. There was a recent effort that I think is still percolating through the Board of Supervisors to undo that. And I had, as a former member who voted for it, written, and John very eloquently, as a township supervisor, stood up for the ordinance to maintain it. So I would ask all of you who are Lower Wakefield residents to stay on top of that issue. Our EAC has actually been very active over the past couple of years or so. A lot of cutting edge ordinances like that have come through, and we should not step back. So
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, so Doug Talmy is a professor at the University of Delaware, and he's an entomologist, and he's very concerned about the insect decline, which also means the bird decline and the pollinators decline. So he's very concerned about that, and he's started this initiative where he has this map online of the United States, and he's wanting people to put themselves on the map, put their little yard on the map if they plant native plants, so that we can create this whole nationwide ecosystem that supports pollinators and insects and our birds. So pick up a brochure if you're interested. Yes.
You spoke about the community involvement and having garbage people pick up the waste, food
Mhm.
waste. I envision right now we have recyclable can, garbage can. What is it, a third can for food waste?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw in one of my pictures, I should have pointed it out. There's this cute little yellow bucket. It's a 5-gallon bucket, just like you get for, different things in. It's a 5-gallon bright yellow bucket that says media compost on it. And that goes out on your curb, just like your trash can. So it's not a big can, but it's just a little one. So it's,
So
and
we
then-
can get the township involved, because the township gives us our
Yep.
garbage cans are recyclable, so now they get a yellow can.
yes, they provide the yellow buckets as well. Yeah. And yes, that's true. Yeah, we do as well. Yeah, so they get recycling buckets and compost buckets as well. And one of the things that really made this more affordable for everyone is that they pick up the yard waste with the compost, with the food waste. And that way, because before they were picking up yard waste like anytime it was out. So they would kind of wander the streets looking for yard waste sitting at the curb. Now it's once a week, just with your food waste. And it helps the borough that way too. So it actually, we were going for cost neutral with the compost pickups, and it actually turned out to be cheaper to do it this way. And also with the trash tipping fees going way up, we're now actually cheaper that way too. So it worked out great.
Were there any questions on the chat?
Haven't seen any questions on the chat. I'm happy to.
Oh, somebody wants to speak?
I was going to ask. Oh,
You're fine. No, you're
Yeah.
good.
I was going to ask a little bit more about the composting strategy. So, does media have a single hauler for their trash, or do they have multiple haulers?
They, let me get this right. They have a single hauler for their recycling, but they have the borough itself, the Public Works Department picks up the trash and now the compost as well.
And then for the composting, the bucket, one of the things that I think is a challenge for adoption is how attractive the collection. I know this, I mean, people, they don't like to have ugly trash cans. The fact that people spend hundreds of dollars for trash cans is breathtaking to me. However, with composting, there's a downside. There's smell and other stuff. And my trick was to sort of have it outside, like right on my deck. But even that wasn't working. And there are now stuff that you can have, at your kitchen for that. Was there any research about those kind of like collection things there? And did people use those, and did that help adoption?
Yes, we researched all of that as well. And so this 5-gallon bucket actually has a very tight fitting lid. So you can actually keep it in your house if you don't mind. But a lot of people do keep it outside on their deck or near the back porch or something like that, and then just put it out on Wednesdays. Some people have a little jar or something inside the house, and then they bring it out to the compost bucket. Yeah, ours don't have that.
Not the bucket, not the yellow bucket.
Oh, okay, yeah, inside your house, if you want, a little jar with maybe a carbon filter to help with the smell. And, usually people just take it out once a day and it's not a really problem. But, yeah, we actually have, if you can look at our, the Media Borough website, it's mediaborough.org. Not website, sorry. Well, I guess it's on the website too. Yeah, or I was thinking of the Facebook page. There's a really cute little video that they put together. We are lucky to have a filmmaker in town as well, and he's always helping out. There's a really cute video about the compost program, and it's got this guy with a Delco accent. He actually put it on just for this, and he really got into it. It was really fun talking to his neighbor who was composting, and he was asking all these questions, and they're talking about the smell and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, they covered all that to make sure that people were okay with it. Yes. Oh, lots. well, oh, how many neighboring towns come to our free store? We don't really track it too well, but we do know just by word of mouth that people from Chester and all the little towns along the Media local regional rail line, a lot of them come along. And I mean, Media is in the middle of a bunch of little towns, so we like to call it the greater Media area because of all the little suburbs around us. And yes, we've had people from all over. It's a very popular thing. Our Facebook page, our Transition Time Media Facebook page has maybe like 2,000 followers. The Free Store page has over 10,000. Yeah.
I have a question.
Okay. Oh, yes, thanks. I'm sorry.
I'm
see
online.
your hand.
I just wanted to say that for the compost, we've been composting we use our own compost for ourselves. We use it for we had a big garden, and now that we live part of the time in Maine, we still turn the soil, or we have a place for it, and then it degrades and you can use it later. So we really don't ever give our compost away. We just use it.
Yes. Yeah, and that's great if you have the facility to do that. A lot of people don't, especially ones that live in apartments or have small yards.
Apartment, yeah, because you don't need a big space for your compost. We have a small property around our house, and we just 10 by 10 is plenty. 20 by 20 is very luxurious.
Right, right.
Bristol, for example, $65,000. So I thought, if there's going to be a free store, which town would I like to support?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and you think about the free store as being for lower income people because they can get things for free, but it's actually been very popular with people of all incomes because a lot of people will just come in and wander around and just to see something that's unique or different, and they'll just pick it up, because they think it's neat, and it's not something that they absolutely need or anything like that, or can't do without, but it's kind of a nice addition to their home. And a lot of people actually come and take things and then bring them back later. It's like we have a 100% return policy. Yeah, Dara.
I'll add to that too, that we're trying here at Willamette, we're trying to promote the buy nothing. And amongst our members and our neighbors, and it really speaks to just reducing consumption. And instead of that first thought being going to the store and buying a new thing, looking to what your neighbors are giving away because they're not using anymore.
Right.
Is much more sustainable and environmentally friendly.
Yeah.
I think, yes, like logically you think, oh, this is great for lower income people, but it's really great for our community because we all have too much stuff. And we
Absolutely.
want people to start thinking about not buying that new plastic thing, but going to a free store and getting a plastic thing that someone in our community is using anymore instead of it going to the landfill.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One of the things I just want to mention, Nancy and I went to visit the free store in Media, however many months ago, and we went on the day, so they one day where you bring things you're not using anymore. That's the day we went. We brought some things from our houses. We got to see the works, and another day people can take things. And we asked a million questions. And what's so amazing about these Media is they've got it all worked out. So the people running the store were more than happy to give us everything we needed. So like we could start tomorrow based on just what they modeled and their forms and their this and their that.
Yeah.
Easily, if the will is there, if you build it, people will come, try to get space and interest, and just what Dara say, yeah, I think, I was just looking at the numbers of subscribers to, I joined the local community, the Newtown, Buy Nothing site, and there are thousands and thousands of people on the site, and people just don't know to look. And, you know, it's there again. There is a matter. The infrastructure is there, and I hope people are going to look at it.
Can the folks on Zoom hear what the conversation here? No? Sorry, can you kind of repeat that?
Oh, gosh. I'm not sure I can.
Susan, do you want to go up?
Yeah, would you please? I wouldn't do it justice, that's
You
for
gotta raise
sure.
your hand and let us know. Sorry about that.
So just because I'm so excited, I was saying Nancy Fisher and I went to see the Free Store in Media, and we're very excited, not just about all the activity. We went on the day when you were told you can bring things that you weren't using. We were very impressed by the great use of very little space, relatively speaking. I don't know how many square feet it was, but packed, very well managed. And we were thrilled that we were given, since people noticed our interest, we were given basically everything we would need to start a store tomorrow, like all the rules of the road, the tools of the trade, forms that they had created. So it's really all about if you build it, they will come. And I also mentioned that it whet my interest to look at Buy Nothing groups, not only because I'm moving out of my house and have a lot of stuff to give away, but I was impressed by the numbers of followers on the Newtown Buy Nothing group, which is the one that's most convenient to where I live. And if you look at the site, and on our resource page from this flyer, you will find lots of information about Buy Nothing groups you can support. And that just reinforces what Dara was saying about we all have too much, let's share it. I remember years ago when we needed cleats. You know, my kids were they weren't real athletes, but especially one of them, but, you know, so they were in soccer for 5 minutes, you know, and you don't need to make a big investment in sports equipment or stuff. You know, some neighbors were very helpful, just as we do on the next door neighbor site or any of the other social media we use. But now it's only more organized. So it's exciting to see the infrastructure forming in our communities. And I urge everybody to just explore more and look at the resources on the flyer that we sent you. There's a whole lot. And while I've got the speaker, I'm just not going to forget to say, please also tune in on April 10th, same time, Sunday, 4 o'clock, and join us in person under the tent. There'll actually be free pizza after a movie, and we're going to have a discussion on the topic of unraveling based on the book Unravel, the Life of a Garment, and it shows how fast fashion has been destroying our world and what we can do about it, and it ties into everything we're talking about. And it's going to be moderated by our very own Dr. Barry Truchell, who's on the call, who's a professor at Rider and is going to share a DVD he's used in class it's called River Blue, about the same theme. And we urge everybody here today to join us and invite friends and anyone else who might be interested. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I just want to say that if you're interested in a Lower Makefield free site, LMT is a great place to give, has about 3.4 thousand members. And I have no into LMT, the majority of all my kids outgrown stuff that way and gotten great things for free. Wonderful site.
That's called LNC?
LMT, like Lower Makefield Township.
Oh, LMT, I'm sorry.
It's a Facebook.
Great.
There's also an in search of one where you needed a laundry basket and you just wanted to purchase one. You ask, put the word out there and say, hey, does anybody have a laundry basket? And And, you know, some people will work by it, they do, if they're looking to get rid of. So,
For instance, high soaps.
yeah.
I just want to make
Sure.
a point. For the next event, that hopefully we'll all be together and on Zoom for, we will make sure we have a microphone for the audience to speak into, so that when they ask questions, the people on Zoom can also hear, so there's not an issue with audio. Does anyone else have, yes, we have another question here for you, sorry. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, sure.
come on up.
Everyone, my name's Jacob. I'm here with State Representative Warren's office. Beyond working for State Rep Warren, I also am a student down at Temple, and I'm involved in student government at Temple. And in that process, one of the things I was looking at as an initiative for our student government administration was shifting Temple from a landfill-based food disposal toward a compost-based food disposal. And we ran into some big structural issues with the various contractors that I won't name that Temple uses. And so the program, the initiative kind of died. But in looking at it and thinking through it, one of the major things I was looking at was the educational opportunity that Temple could provide and that Yardley could provide as well. And the ability for Temple to even have their own facility at the Ambler campus to teach students how to compost, and beyond that, be able to resell this compost to small farmers, to individuals. And so I was wondering, with the media composting, I know you said that you go to the orchard. Do they just take it and it's done, they use up the compost? I was wondering, like, what happens, what's the continuation of the life cycle of the food waste after it gets to them? Thank you.
Yeah.
So Linvilla Orchards actually sells compost, the compost that's made there to their customers, but they also, during the pilot project, they used to dump like a 10-yard load of compost in a location in media for the participants in the pilot project to pick up. I don't know, I think it was quarterly or something, or twice quarterly, something like that. When we went borough-wide, that sort of stopped, I think, because they were a little concerned about the level of, whether they'd be able to afford that. But they are going to be picking that up again. So yes, the media residents are going to be able to get free compost based on the way that we've used it. So the composting facility. So yeah, it is going to be full cycle.
Sorry, can I share?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
One or two things.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to follow up to your comments here. We've actually, one of the things that has been going on lately at Transition Town Media is we've been trying to get more and more young people involved. And so we've been getting some interest from some student groups. We have a professor with the University of Sciences who has assigned the students in one of his classes to work with some of our groups as well. And that's been the beginning of a really wonderful partnership. And they chose the groups that they wanted to work with, and now we're working through what the projects are as they work through their semester. So I want to mention that. I also wanted to mention the idea of starting small, and Shari sort of alluded to this. We do a lot of pilots to get started and see how it goes, and then the programs grow from there over time, and then the connections with the community. One of the groups that we work with, for example, really have deepened our relationship over the last year is a group called Keep Media Green, which really focuses exclusively on sort of open space and green space in the borough. But they've turned out to be a great partner in some of these areas of biodiversity, and they're bringing Doug Talamy in and we're as a speaker, and we're going to be co-sponsoring that event as well. And then finally, I just wanted to mention that at our annual planning this year, when we were recognizing all the members of our community, people had pretty much unanimously decided that Shari is really a force of nature in terms of holding us together. So yeah, absolutely. She's really been the heart and soul of our Transition Town movement. And she was recognized by Transition US this year, just recently, for all of her contributions. And then finally, I just want to say, for us, the Transition Town group has been a hub that can pull together a lot of these various initiatives. And I think that that's really been helpful. So definitely encourage you guys to think about possibly forming a transition group for your area to act as a hub. But all of these connections and conversations are really important. And I think that's what's going to help us as a culture get to the next level and really start to heal our planet. So anyway, I just want to share that.
Thank you, David. I got it. So, yeah, just to reinforce what Skip said, I think one of the really important things about a transition town that is different from, this group is doing that and this group is doing that, is it really pulls it all together and gives a focal point for people to come together and share ideas and start projects and get support for all the projects that they're interested in putting together. So I think that's why it would really be great if you guys could put together a transition town for the Yardley area and get all the, all your surrounding towns and governmental bodies together under this umbrella. It is really a very supportive network. Transition US is wonderful to work with. The people there are really passionate and have great resources. So yeah, so I totally.
It's about 5:20, so I want
Okay.
to
Yeah, I keep trying to figure out the time.
I just want to ask you one last question that you're alluding to is
Sure.
what resources does Transition Town Network provide for a startup transition town?
Right. Yeah. So first of all, they do have trainings and workshops on a lot of different aspects that you might be needing. So, for example, they have things on how to run effective meetings, and they also have resources like sociocracy, which is a way of running an organization. So they have those kinds of organizational skills that you can learn or study. And they also just have a very tight-knit network. So like I said, we are part of a Mid-Atlantic group of transition towns, which is supported by Transition US. And we also are involved with some working groups on the national level that like a politics and policy group and one that supports local initiatives. And an inter-resiliency network as well. So there's a lot of things going on at the national level. There's just starting a new project called Regeneration Nation, which is gearing up to really promote transition on a national level, make it kind of a household word across the country about what transition is all about and what regeneration is. Why we're doing a regeneration kind of focus this next 3 years or so. So there's a lot going on at the national level, and they are really very focused on how to support the local groups in doing what they want to do.
There may be time for one more question if there's any more questions out there.
That'd be good. See, yeah.
Can you speak about other local towns that have had successes?
Local towns that have had successes. Yeah, we have I call it a new one. I guess it's maybe 2 years old now. In Phoenixville, that is doing a lot of great stuff. They started with some already formed groups like the Green Team they have there, and they have a time bank already that's already in progress and has been very successful. I don't know what they're doing that we didn't. And so they have a bunch of different groups that are all working on very similar things. And I went out to talk to them, a few years back, and about why, being a transition town might be useful for them as well. And they really went for it. So, so they coalesced into a transition town as well, and they're doing amazing stuff. They're working right now on with the borough as well. There on various policy issues. And Westchester just started one. That was just like less than a year ago, I think. There's one in Cheltenham. Wilmington, Delaware has one, yep. And there's also one in Maryland, Howard County, Maryland, that's doing some great work with some other groups down there. They have this farm that one of the people there owns, and they're gonna, do organic gardening there, and they're gonna have a maker space there. They're really good at repair cafes. That's one of their main focuses, and that's really exciting. We've never been able to pull one of those off, but they do them like every year. So, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Wow. That's a lot of information. It's so inspiring. I hope that this has given some people some seeds of thoughts about what might be possible in our area here, and knowing that there's other people that are successfully doing it, and that there's people we can ask questions of and get resources from, so you don't have to start from scratch. So I think that's really inspiring. Sorry, I'm sure that you get a lot of those. Thank you so much for coming out in person, which is kind of new and unique these days. It's so nice to see you in person and be able to have a crowd here. It's so great. And thank you to those of you on Zoom. I hope you were able to hear the conversation and get some inspiration also. And we'll be posting our resource page, like Susan mentioned, on our website. If you can't find it or whatever, you can always email the office here at Colomet, and we'll make sure you get a copy of our resource pages and everything like that. As Susan mentioned, April 10th, we have, as part of our Buy Nothing campaign, the unraveled, the conversation of the life and death of our clothes, and why fast fashion is bad and how we can fix it. And so basically a conversation of making us think about reducing our consumption and how important that is. Was there any other message that I needed to?
Could you define what EAC is again?
Oh, the Environmental Advisory Council. So we
Thank
do
you.
have one in Lower Makefield, and there's an environmental committee, I believe they call themselves, in Yardley Borough. I don't know if they work together at all, but I know we have a very active EAC in Lower Makefield, and they are really wonderful. So I'm hoping that we can, this basically was just to bring this idea to our local area, see if anyone really, it sparks an interest in someone locally in our greater Yardley area, so that we, maybe can get our own group started. One thing that we did want to mention is we do have coffee and cookies in the social hall, but we are not eating together inside right now. So you can take your coffee and cookies, and we can go stand out on the patio and eat outside. Right now it's not snowing anymore, so that's good. But yeah, please do, if you're here in person, definitely mingle a little bit and socially distanced, chew on your cookies and share some coffee. So was there anything else, Rabbi, that we should mention?
My pleasure.
Yes. Yeah. So Rabbi just says it's so nice to be together again and build community. It really, so hopefully we're back on the track of that. So thanks so much, everybody, for joining. Oh, one more thing.
Oh, good, thank you.
But she said not just walks the talk, she drives the talk, she takes her electric vehicle.
So what Susan is saying, for those of you on Zoom, is Shari drove here today in her electric vehicle. It is now plugged in right outside the synagogue so that she can drive home from here in her electric vehicle with no fossil fuels. So it's awesome. So that's awesome. So thank you, everybody. Thanks so much. We'll be sharing the recording of this event on our website. Thanks, guys.